Well, let's now bring in Pierre Spray, a designer of the F-16 and F-15 jet fighters and also a defence analyst. Thank you very much for coming on to the programme today. Firstly, we're hearing there that the defence contractors do get very lucrative contracts from this sort of war. What sort of lobbying power do they have, do you think, when it comes to government policy?
Well, they have stunning lobbying power. I mean, that's been true for decades, and it's increasing. Year by year, their lobbies are thriving. They're getting more and more of their own way. There's been essentially little change since the Bush administration into the Obama administration. If anything, they're more powerful under the Obama administration than they were before. And this present attack on ISIL has them ecstatic. They're euphoric.
I mean, you sound very negative from your comments there. What sort of thing could you expect to see next? I mean, after seeing the campaign that's been launched against the Islamic State now, do you expect that to increase in any way?
Inevitably, at least the air portion will increase. The ground portion is still kind of up in the air and will depend a lot on the politics. But beyond the shadow of a doubt, this really very puny air campaign that we're running now, surprisingly small, particularly small in terms of actual bomb-dropping strikes, will certainly increase. And that's very much in the interests of the military-industrial complex and, of course, their congressional advocates.
And in your opinion, does this have a big bearing on the American economy as a whole? When there is a war, is there a spike in the American economy because of the money that's generated from military contracts? Or is that too simplistic? Well,
there's a spike for the defense industry. It's pretty hard on the rest of the economy, to say the least. The whole idea of economic spin-off from defense spending has been a phony for decades.
Let's just talk about what we've seen there at the moment in Iraq and Syria. We have heard reports about flaws in one of Europe's most advanced warplanes, the Typhoon jet fighter. What can you tell us about that?
I'm sorry, you're talking about the F-22 fighter?
Yeah, the Typhoon jet fighter, the European Typhoon, the Eurofighter. What more can you tell us about that? Because there have been reports there have been flaws in it. What's your opinion?
Well, it's never been a very good airplane. It's rather large, very expensive. Of course, we build more expensive airplanes, to say the least. But it's relatively unmaneuverable, far too complex for its missions, hard to maintain, and very hard to get very many sorties per week out of it because of the complexity. But that's no different than most of the airplanes being built today, and we're doing worse with the F-35.
And with regard to the F-22, presumably that's much more apt, is it, for the situation it faces now?
Well, the F-22, that was a kind of Potemkin village, if you want to call it that. They had descended into combat. It's been so conspicuously absent from combat for the many years that it's been in service that people have noticed, and there's been a lot of commentary. And so they finally set up a nice little mission for it so they could trot it out and do a little strike on what proved to be an empty concrete building. And I doubt you'll see very much of it in combat, partly because, of course, it's a $400 million airplane, and you hardly want to risk even the accidents that might happen in combat, and partly because the airplane is so complex, it normally flies only about 2 times a week. So you can't get very many sorties. You can't trot it out very often.
All right. OK, well, look, it's been fascinating speaking to you. Thanks very much for your time, but we do have to leave it there. That was Pierre Spray, the designer of the F-16 and also F-15, and also a defence analyst. Thank you.